I used to think my mom gave up everything for me. Now, I know she gave me up the second I stopped fitting into her version of the story. My name's Calla Denford. I'm 32, and I haven't spoken to my mother in over a decade. Not because I don't care, but because I spent too many years believing I was the problem, when really I was just inconvenient. I grew up in a double-wide trailer outside of Ashland City, Tennessee. Just me and my mom, June. My dad died when I was barely 2. She never talked much about him, except to say he had potential, but life had other plans. That's how she talked about everything. Like she was constantly one breath away from greatness. If only the universe would stop being so cruel. I used to think she was the strongest woman I knew. She worked nights at a small clinic, then took shifts cleaning houses on weekends. And when I came down with pneumonia in 4th grade, she quit both jobs just to stay by my side at the hospital. I almost died that winter. She reminded me of that often, every time she needed something or wanted to guilt me out of saying no. I gave up everything to keep you breathing, she'd say, with this look like I owed her air. For a while, I believed I did. I learned not to ask for new clothes, not to cry when the power got cut off again, not to complain when dinner was just a slice of white bread and a spoonful of peanut butter. She'd sigh and say, "You don't know what I sacrifice." I wanted to be good. I wanted to make it worth it. So I got straight A's. I fixed the leaky faucet at age 10. I figured out how to sew a button, clean a stovetop, and explain our overdue bills to the landlord, all before I turned 12. And the more I stepped up, the more invisible I became. When I was 13, everything changed. Mom brought home a man named Mark. She said he was different. Stable, kind. He listens. And at first, I believed her. He was quiet, polite, had a pickup truck with working AC. That alone made him feel like royalty. But then came Ellie. Mark's daughter, a year younger than me, moved in 3 months after he did. She had braces, glitter pens, and a pink canopy bed that took up most of my old room. I got moved to the fold-out couch in the living room, until we get settled, which ended up meaning forever. Ellie was sunshine and sparkle. She called my mom June Mom and told everyone we were sisters. And my mom? She soaked it up. She'd cook Ellie breakfast, braid her hair, brag about her spelling bee trophies to anyone who'd listen. Meanwhile, I was still the one unclogging the toilet and boiling water because our pipes kept freezing. At dinner, it was always about Ellie's day at school, Ellie's braces, Ellie's talent show. I'd try to speak up only to get, "Not now, Calla," or "Can you pass the butter?" As if I'd interrupted something sacred. And I swallowed it because I thought maybe this was what a real family looked like. I told myself I was lucky to have anything at all. But then came the night Mom forgot to pick me up from the science fair. It was freezing. I waited outside the gym for 2 hours until the janitor called me a cab, one I had to pay for out of my babysitting money. When I got home, the 3 of them were on the couch, laughing at some sitcom rerun. No one even noticed I'd been gone. I stood there holding my trifold poster board with frostbitten fingers, and she looked up, blinked, and said, "Oh, I thought you were spending the night at Tanya's." That was the moment something cracked in me. Not because she forgot. People forget things. But because when I told her what happened, she didn't apologize. She rolled her eyes and said, "Why do you always make everything about you?" I didn't say anything. I just nodded and went to bed, quietly folding myself into a blanket on the sagging couch, staring at the ceiling and wondering if I'd actually disappeared and no one had told me. That night, I realized something painful. I didn't leave this family. They erased me, bit by bit, day by day, until I wasn't even a shadow in the room. And things were only going to get worse from there. I used to count the moments when it felt like I had a mom. They started to get fewer, then stopped altogether. After the science fair incident, I started fading from everything. Ellie had a birthday party with 20 kids and a unicorn cake. I wasn't invited. To my own home. I found out because the balloon arch blocked the front door when I came home from school. My mom looked at me, surprised, like I was the one interrupting something sacred again. "Didn't I tell you to stay at the library today?" she said. She hadn't. But at that point, what was the use in arguing? I started pulling away, not in a rebellious teenager way, quietly. I started staying late at the school library, reading anything I could get my hands on. I learned how to fix things. Pipes, old laptops, even the busted microwave the school wanted to throw out. Mr. Dayton, my chemistry teacher, noticed. He let me hang around his lab after hours, and when I showed him a sketch of a wind-powered irrigation system I'd come up with, he just stared at me like I'd built a space shuttle. "You ever consider engineering?" he asked. "You've got the kind of brain for it." That was the first time in years someone said I was meant for something. Not responsible for, not obligated to, but meant for. So I started applying to scholarships. Quietly, at night, using the old school desktops. I didn't tell my mom, not yet. I knew what she'd say. Senior year, a big one landed. A state-funded full ride for underrepresented girls in STEM. Tuition, housing, books, all of it. I remember reading the acceptance letter in the back of the bus, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the paper still. That night, I got home and waited for the right moment to tell her. She was in the kitchen making spaghetti. Mark was watching sports. Ellie was sitting on the counter eating croutons like popcorn. "I got a scholarship," I said, voice barely above the hum of the fridge. "Hmm?" she said, stirring the sauce. "A full ride, for engineering, out of state." She stopped stirring, looked at me like I'd said I was moving to Mars. "Out of state?" "Yeah, but it covers everything, even housing." She laughed. Actually laughed. "That's cute, Calla, but who's going to help me with the house? With Ellie? Mark works 6 days a week." I didn't say anything at first. I thought maybe she hadn't heard me, or hadn't understood what this meant. "This is a big deal," I said. "It's 4 years. I can build something for myself." She cut me off. "I didn't raise you to abandon your family." "You didn't raise me," I snapped, louder than I meant to. "You raised her. I raised me." The silence after that was sharp, like glass shattering across the floor. Mark glanced over but said nothing. Ellie was frozen with a crouton halfway to her mouth. My mom looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore, like I had betrayed her. She walked past me, rinsed off the spoon, and said, "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." That was the night I packed a duffel and left. I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a real suitcase. Just that one canvas bag and a bus ticket Mr. Dayton helped me pay for. He and his wife let me stay on their couch for 2 weeks before school started. And I'll never forget what he told me the night before I moved into my dorm. "You don't owe anyone the pain they handed you." At college, I felt like an alien. Everyone had parents dropping them off, taking pictures in front of dorm signs, crying in the parking lot. I had a $50 prepaid phone card and a note from Mr. Dayton's wife that said, "You're worth showing up for." The first month was brutal. I missed home. Not the place, but the idea of it. I kept hoping for a text, a call, even just an email from my mom. Nothing. Not even on my birthday. I buried myself in work. I picked up a job in the campus maintenance department, learned how to patch drywall, rewire lighting. I took every shift they'd give me. My grades dipped that first semester, but I clawed my way back up. Slowly, I started to build something that felt like mine. But no matter how far I got, a part of me still clung to the idea that maybe, if I just tried hard enough, she'd see me again. That hope died 6 months later when I got a message from Ellie. It wasn't a congratulations. It wasn't a check-in. It was a selfie of her and my mom in front of their brand new kitchen island with the caption, "She finally got the kitchen she deserved. Family first." I stared at that photo for hours. That was the moment I stopped asking why she didn't choose me. She did. She chose not to. And I wasn't going to beg for space in a story I wasn't even written into. I thought walking away would be the hard part. Turns out succeeding without them was even harder. College didn't feel like freedom at first. It felt like floating in space. No one to call when I got sick. No care packages, no random texts. I watched roommates fight with their moms over petty things like dorm curtains or weekend trips, and I'd quietly envy them. Not for the arguments, but for having someone who bothered to argue. Meanwhile, I was patching drywall between classes and scrubbing mold from communal showers on Sundays. That was my version of a support system, but somehow, I kept going. By sophomore year, I landed a paid internship at a construction engineering firm in Nashville. It wasn't glamorous, mostly shadowing site leads and taking notes. But I was learning, and more importantly, I wasn't drowning in instant noodles anymore. My boss, a gruff guy named Ken, who always wore the same dusty flannel, saw something in me. He started giving me real work. Calculations, estimates, even meetings. "You asked the right questions," he said once. "You're not trying to impress people. You just want to do it right." No one had ever said that to me before. I started doing better in class, too. I actually understood the mechanics behind what I used to memorize just to pass. For the first time in years, I felt steady. Not happy exactly, but anchored, like maybe I belonged somewhere, even if I had to carve that place out with my bare hands. But the better things got, the guiltier I felt. Every time I bought groceries that weren't instant soup, I'd hear my mom's voice in my head. "Must be nice not to worry about anyone but yourself." When I got my first B+ in thermodynamics, I didn't cry. I panicked. Because I'd built my entire identity around the idea that I had to be perfect to earn love, even if that love never came. And then there was the money. My scholarship covered tuition, but I still had rent, food, textbooks, and bus passes. I was working almost 30 hours a week on top of a full course load. I pulled all-nighters with a wrench in one hand and a formula sheet in the other. I didn't party. I didn't travel. Every penny went to survival. And still, that photo of Ellie and my mom in their shiny new kitchen haunted me. I'd built my future from scraps, and they were out there living like they'd won something, like they'd earned something. It made me sick. By senior year, I had offers from 3 companies before I even graduated. I took the lowest paying one. Not because it was safer, but because it was the only one that let me stay close to my internship mentor, Ken. I trusted him. That felt more important than a paycheck. So I stayed in Nashville, got a tiny studio apartment near a bus stop, and started over. Again. The first year out of college was rough. I was still broke, still tired, still catching up on things other kids never had to think about. My coworkers were buying cars. I was just trying to keep the power on. But slowly, painfully, I climbed. I got promoted. Then again, I started managing small teams, then whole sites. People listened when I talked. They asked for my opinion. And still, I didn't tell anyone back home. I didn't post about my job. Didn't show off my new office chair or the boots I'd finally saved up to buy. I told myself it was because I was humble, but deep down I was hiding. From them. From her. Because I knew the moment she found out I was doing well, she'd come back. And I wasn't ready to face that. Then one night, out of nowhere, I got a message from my high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Dayton, the man who'd helped me catch the first bus out. It was short. "Heard you're killing it in Nashville. Proud of you, Calla. Stop by sometime." I stared at it for a long time. My hands shook. Not because I was nervous, but because I realized that was the first time in 10 years someone from my past had reached out without needing something. No angle. No guilt trip. Just pride. And that hit me like a freight train. Because no matter how far I'd come, I still carried their absence like a phantom limb. Like I was constantly reaching for a hand that would never reach back. That night, I wrote a long email to Mr. Dayton, thanking him for the bus ticket, for the couch, for the way he believed in me when no one else had. He replied, "You've always had it in you. You just needed someone to stop stepping on it." I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window with a cup of stale coffee and watched the city blink. I thought about my mom, about Ellie, about that kitchen. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. because I finally understood something no one had ever told me. Success built out of spite still counts, but healing starts when you stop needing them to see it. And I wasn't quite there yet, but I was getting closer. There's a certain kind of silence that follows you when you stop chasing people who left you behind. It's not peace. Not yet. More like standing still in a room you used to scream in and realizing the echoes are finally gone. That was the headspace I was in when I got the call. It came in on a Wednesday afternoon while I was reviewing blueprints. Unknown number. I usually let those go to voicemail, but some old reflex, made me swipe accept. Kala? The voice was familiar in the worst way. It's Ellie. My stomach dropped. It had been, 9, maybe 10 years? I didn't say anything, just waited. She didn't wait. Mom's in the hospital. Kidney issues. It's bad. We need help. Not she needs you. Not I miss you. Just we. As if we'd all been doing this life together the whole time. As if I hadn't been carved out like bad drywall. She's asking for you, Ellie added quickly, like that would change the math. I still didn't speak. Look, I know it's been hard, she continued, but we're family. That word again. Family. Funny how people only remember they're related when their bills come due. I took a breath. What do you want, Ellie? She hesitated. Then, like the mask slipping just a little, she said, we're trying to cover her treatments. Insurance won't touch some of it. You're doing well, right? She said you are. There it was. Not concern, not connection. Capital. I said nothing for a few seconds, then. How'd she know? She saw a post from your company's page. Said you were speaking at some women in tech event. My mouth went dry. I'd let my guard down. Just once. A company photographer tagged me in a conference photo last month. I'd shared it. I thought, just this once, I could be proud of something without flinching. Please, Kala, Ellie said. This isn't about the past. Yes, it is, I replied quietly. You just don't want it to be. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed every version of that call. Imagined myself going, saying nothing, paying the bills just to feel morally superior. Then imagined myself showing up just to scream, or to walk away again. I didn't like any of the endings, so I chose one I hadn't considered before. I went. Not to give, not to forgive, but to see, to stop imagining who she was now and look it in the face. The hospital room was cold, beige, lifeless. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older, of course, but not fragile, not soft. She looked used up, like someone who'd gambled badly and was trying to make one last play. She lit up when she saw me. Kala, she said, smiling like we were close. You came. I didn't smile back. You asked. She motioned to the chair. I stayed standing. There was an awkward silence. Then she dove in. Look, I know we've had our rough patches. Stop, I said. I'm not here for a reunion. I'm here because you had Ellie call me like a bill collector. Her smile faltered. I just wanted to talk. Number you wanted something, I said. So talk. She sighed. I've made mistakes. God knows I've made plenty, but I never stopped caring about you. Caring? I scoffed. You gave my room to a girl you'd known for 6 months. You told me to turn down college to help her, and when I didn't, you erased me. That's not fair. You made me a placeholder, Mom, I said, louder now. A second set of hands. A plan B. And when I started becoming a person with wants, you panicked. So don't sit there and call it love just because you feel guilty now. She went quiet again. I expected anger, but what came next caught me off guard. I did what I had to, she said. Raising you alone, it was hard. And when Mark came along, I thought maybe I could finally breathe. You were strong, Kala. I thought you'd be fine. I stared at her, stunned. You thought I'd be fine? You thought a teenage girl sleeping on a couch, ignored by her mother, would be fine? I didn't know what else to do. She said softly, Ellie needed me more. And there it was. The truth she'd never say out loud, laid bare without even realizing it. Ellie needed her. I didn't. Not because I didn't need a mom, but because I didn't make her feel needed. That wasn't love. That was ego. That was preference. And I wasn't going to carry that story anymore. I stood. I hope you get better, truly. But I'm not the one who's going to fix this. Her eyes filled, but I didn't. I'd cried my last tear for her years ago. As I turned to leave, she called after me. You'll regret this. I stopped at the door. No, I said. I regret believing you were the only person who could love me. Then I walked out. And for the first time in my life, the air didn't feel heavy. It's strange, the way closure doesn't come with a bang. Sometimes it's just a moment of stillness. Like when you finally realize you haven't thought about them in weeks, and your chest doesn't clench anymore. That's how I felt, about 3 months after I walked out of that hospital room. I didn't hear from Ellie or my mom again. No texts, no guilt-drenched voicemails. Just silence. At first, it felt eerie, like the pause before a storm. But the storm never came. Instead, something else did. I got a call from my firm's legal department. Apparently, someone had been contacting a few of our major clients, claiming I was involved in fraudulent practices. They used a burner email and fake LinkedIn account, trying to plant doubts about my ethics, saying I'd stolen plans from a previous employer, things that could tank someone's career if they stuck. It didn't take long for IT to trace the IP. It led back to a residential address in Clarksville. My mom's address. I wish I could say I was shocked, but really, I just felt tired. She couldn't guilt me into paying her bills, so she tried to ruin everything I'd built. I guess in her mind, if I wasn't going to save her, I didn't deserve to stand at all. That's when something in me shifted. All those years, I thought I'd been choosing the high road, letting go, moving on. But this wasn't about peace anymore. It was about boundaries and consequences. So I filed a formal cease and desist. I documented everything. The fake emails, the trace, even the hospital conversation, which I'd written down in a journal that same night. My company backed me fully. HR issued a permanent block on all contact from her or anyone associated with her. But that wasn't enough. I filed a civil harassment claim. She never showed up to court. But you know who did? Ellie. She looked small. No glitter pens, no smug little smiles. Just a woman in a thrift store blazer who looked like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't try to argue. She didn't deny it. She just said, she told me if you lost your job, you'd have to come back. That maybe you'd remember where you came from. I didn't reply. I just let the silence speak. The judge granted a restraining order on the spot. Not just for me, but for my workplace, my residence, and any future public events tied to my name. The court also ordered them to pay my legal fees. I walked out of that courtroom and didn't look back. Not because I was above it, but because I finally could. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped wanting them to see me succeed. I just wanted them out of my story. A few months later, I got promoted again. Director of Infrastructure. Big title, bigger team, bigger pay. But what mattered more was what I did next. I took a piece of that raise and surprised my aunt, the only person in my extended family who used to send me birthday cards even after Mom told everyone I was dead to her. She cried when I handed her the check. I told her to fix the roof, take the cruise she'd been talking about for years, and maybe, just maybe, start writing again, like she used to before life wore her down. She held my hand and said, "You didn't owe me this." And I said, "That's exactly why you deserve it." Not long after, I got a message request on Instagram from someone named Lucy, a teenager. Said she was a niece of mine. Mark's kid from another relationship. Apparently, she'd found my name while Googling engineering programs for women. Said I inspired her. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. Maybe healing doesn't come from fixing what broke. Maybe it comes from building something new where that pain used to live. What I know for sure is this. I stopped being their ghost the moment I chose myself without apology. I'm not their scapegoat. I'm not their shame. I'm my own damn story. You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that not every ending is neat, but that doesn't mean it can't be right. People like to say family is everything, but I think that's only true when family shows up without trying to rewrite your worth. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you once loved just to protect yourself, you're not alone. And you're not selfish. I'd really love to hear your story too, if you're up for it. Feel free to share in the comments. Maybe someone else out there needs to know they're not crazy for choosing peace. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, messy, stick around. I've got more to tell. Thanks for listening.